What's going on, you guys? It's Lincoln here. Welcome back to my channel where we talk about building net worth, and we have been going over options pretty heavily lately, and we are going to just continue right along on that path today, talking about how to exit options trades and that sort of thing. So without any further ado, let's jump into it. So first things first, let's go over what an option contract is. So if you do use Robinhood, just go down, hit trade options, and you'll see here at the top we have expiration dates and we have calls, puts, strike prices. So each one of these, each expiration date has a bunch of different strike prices. Each one of these is a contract in and of itself. So this $132 strike expiring June 18th, this is a contract. Okay, so each expiration date and each strike price is a contract. This is a contract. This is a contract. If you switch over to puts, this is a contract. This is a contract. We can go out further, no later expiration. These are all individual contracts, okay? You can buy multiple of these. So you can see here, this is just set up to buy one, but you can buy 10 of them if you want. Okay, you're buying 10 contracts of this expiration, January 21, 2022, expiration at the 145 strike, okay? That's what a contract is, nothing more. Let's say you were going to go in and buy the June 25, so next Friday, buy the 130 call, okay? You can't simultaneously sell that because it's the exact same contract, okay? You can see 281 by 280, it's just a bid-ask spread. But you can't buy and simultaneously sell that contract because that would not be doing anything. That's like saying I'm going to buy one share of Apple and simultaneously sell one share of Apple. Okay, that doesn't do you any good because there's no trade to make. How to enter a contract. If we're going to talk about how to exit a contract, we need to talk about how to enter them. Okay, so you can do either a buy to open or a sell to open. So like I said, let's run with this example. Let's say I decided to buy this 130 strike expiring in 1 month Apple call. I can do what I just did here. I have buy call. I don't have a position open in this at all right now. Okay, so I'm opening a position. I'm going to hit buy. I'm going to enter one. I want to do one contract. Review order. I don't actually want to buy this, but that's how I do it. Okay, so that would be a buy to open. I'm buying a call. I'm going to also buy to open a put. Let's say the same thing. I'm bearish on Apple now. But I'm going to buy to open this put. I'm going to pay $220, $220 per share, and I'm going to buy one of these puts. Oh, now 11. I'm going to buy one of these puts. Remember, buying a put gives me the right to sell stock at a certain price. So I'm buying this. This gives me the right to sell 100 shares of Apple on or before July 16th. I'm paying $222 to the put seller for that. Okay, so if I decide, yes, I want to sell 100 shares for $130, then I'm going to be selling those to the seller of this contract. Okay, they are entering this contract with me. Okay, so for each one of these contracts, there's a buyer and a seller. So that's buy to open. You can buy a put to open or you can buy a call to open, either one. I can also sell to open. So let's say I want to take the exact opposite positions that I just used for the example. I could sell this one to open, and I would be collecting about $420, $420 per share for the obligation of selling 100 shares of Apple for $130 per share on or before July 16th. Okay, there's a sell to open. You can see here, if I'm selling to open, it's going to give me a credit. Okay, whereas if I were to buy to open, well, it shows them as a max cost, but this is technically a debit. Okay, so when you're buying to open, you're buying a contract, that's a debit. When you're selling to open, you're selling a contract, and that's a credit. Okay, and then when you get into spreads, let's say that I wanted to set up a call debit spread. So I buy the 130 strike and I sell the 135 strike. This is going to be a net debit because my debit is costing more than my credit. Okay, the contract that I'm buying is costing more than the contract I'm selling. Okay, this is a net debit. So this is a bullish call debit spread. You can see that right there. Okay, so it's a bullish position. Okay, let's get into a couple examples I have just to really cement this home. Okay, so here are my two deep in the money leaps in my Robinhood account. Look at this Dropbox one. You can see +1. I bought to open the $10 strike expiring January 2023, right there, okay? Bought to open. This is my initial debit, was the 1405, okay? There it is. If I want to look into the options chain, I can go out to January 2023, go down to that $10 strike. There's the +1, okay? This is the contract that I own. If I wanted to sell this, okay, there is the contract that I own. We'll talk about how to sell it in a second. And then also I have a couple sell to opens, so we'll just use the drop box as an example. I've sold a covered call on that leaps position I just showed you. So I sold to open, took in a credit of $56, so it's 56 cents per share. Okay, you can see the -1 here. I received a credit. I can go into the chain here and look at the one that I sold. You can see that $32 strike. That's one that I sold, okay? I sold this contract. Same thing. All right, now that we got that figured out, let's talk about how to exit these. So there are 3 ways to exit an options trade. You can take the offsetting trade, and then I talk about rolling here a little bit. I'll mention that. You can exercise if you're the buyer. Okay, we already mentioned that. Or we can let it expire. Let's talk about how to exit this drop box deep in the money leaps, okay? I own the $10 strike expiring January 2023. I originally bought to open for a $1,405 debit. And you can see that right here. I'm +1. Okay, so I entered via a buy to open, and it was a debit transaction, and now I have +1 contract. So to close, I'm going to take the offsetting trade. Okay, I'm going to sell to close, and it's going to be a credit, and I'm going to be selling my 1 contract, okay? So -1 contract. It's the same thing if you bought 1 share of Dropbox. To sell it, you'd be selling, subtracting 1, and you'd be selling it to close, okay? So I can do that right here. I can do sell to close, 1, and you can see here, minimum credit, okay? Selling to close, it's a credit. Taking the offsetting trade. The exact opposite of this. I'm going to sell to close. You can also do that through the actual options chain itself. You can go to January 2023, if I can click on it. And I can scroll down. Here it is, the $10 strike. You can see there's a +1 right next to it because I own that. So I can switch over to sell. I bought this one. I bought this contract originally, so now I'm going to sell this contract. Okay, this is the one that I own. This is the one I can sell. So I check that and enter 1, and there, I'm done. Okay, so I have a covered call sold on that deep in the money leaps here, so $32 call. I took an original credit of $56. This expires 7/16. Okay, the offsetting trade would be a buy to close. Okay, so originally on this contract, I sold to open for a credit of -1. You can see here, -1. Here's my credit, and I'm going to buy to close. See, it's already set for buy to close. So I'm going to set 1, and that would be buying it back. You can see I'm up $19. I originally took in a credit of $56. Now I'll be paying back $37, and I'll get to keep the $19 difference in premium. Okay, I can also do this one through the options chain. So I can go to July 16th, and I can go to the $32 strike and see I'm -1 on these contracts. So to close it, I'd need to buy 1. Okay, +1 gets me back to 0. So I just check this. You can see 37 cents. And we know I sold this for 56 cents, so that would be a $19 profit. Okay, so that is how to close by taking an offsetting trade. If you guys want to know how to roll up or down, I'll link a video down in the description below. It's very straightforward. I'm basically just doing 2 of these transactions at once. And now, if you are an options buyer, let's jump back into this. If you're the buyer, you have the right to buy stock or sell stock. Okay, so that means you can exercise your option. So this is option number 2 for how to exit if you're the buyer. So let's look at my deep in the money leaps. So I bought an option that gives me the right to buy 100 shares of Dropbox for $10 per share on or before January 2023. Thought it was going to load by now. Okay, so if I want to exercise this option, I'm going to need to have at least $1,000, okay? 100 shares at the $10 strike. That's going to cost me $1,000. So over here you can see I can exercise this option. Never actually done this before. So let's see what this looks like. Exercise your options. Okay, whatever. Okay, cool. So you can pick why you're going to do this. I want to buy the stock. Continue. Cool. Okay, so you can see I have one contract that I'm going to exercise. The $10 strike, it's going to cost me $1,000. I'm not actually going to do this. I've never actually been through these screens before, but that's kind of cool. So you can exercise an option. That is another way to technically exit this trade, okay? So what that would do is instead of owning this contract, I would now own 100 shares of Dropbox in my account with a cost basis of $10 per share. And Dropbox would be at $29.13 still, so I'd be up about $1,900. Okay, so that is technically another way to exit this options contract. It's by exercising. If we look at the contracts that I've sold to open, I don't have the right to exercise them, and we're going to see that it's not going to give me that option. It just says view all options. Okay, I can't exercise these because I sold them to open. The buyers have rights, sellers have obligations. Okay, and then the third way to exit is just letting it expire, okay? So every contract has an expiration date, okay? These ones are, my deep in the money leaps are very long dated. They're leaps, so they're over a couple years away. But let's look at this 3D Systems call that I sold. This expires tomorrow. You can see it's worth a penny. Sold it for 65 cents per share, so $65 credit initially. This is going to expire worthless. Instead of buying this one back to close, I'm just going to let it expire worthless. As of tomorrow, at the end of the day, if 3D System remains below $35 a share, this contract isn't going to be worth anything. So it's just going to disappear from my account. Okay, I'm going to collect the full premium that I sold this for. The person who bought this contract from me when I sold it, who paid me $65 for this contract, he or she has lost their entire premium that they paid out. Okay, this is going to expire worthless. Okay, so this expires worthless as of tomorrow on the 18th. So that is the third way to exit. Okay, so I guess the first two ways, the first 2.5 ways are actually actively doing something, whereas the third one is you're just letting it expire. Okay, every options contract has an expiration date. Every contract at some point will expire. Okay, it's going to be in the money or out of the money. Either way, it's going to expire. Okay, so that is how to exit options trades in those 3.5 ways. Like I said, I'll link the rolling video down in the description. But now I'm going to do a quick little portfolio update because why not? As always, here is the spreadsheet that I'm operating out of. You can see my full portfolio value. Down here, this is linked on my website, networthwell.com. Just under my portfolio, you guys can look at this whenever you want. I'll link this down below. I also have quite a few other resources on this website. I have an options page where I cover a lot of the stuff I just went over in this video on the beginner and intermediate sections. Okay, so I highly recommend you guys checking this out. This information is very good on here. Anyway, so let's jump into what we've been up to. I bought that Apple deep in the money leaps. You can see that trade is going incredibly well. Apple really rallied right after I bought that, which is actually the same thing that happened with Dropbox and 3D Systems. So there might be something to it. Maybe I'll just have to keep buying these deep in the money leaps and start making 15% every week. Anyway, there isn't a lot that's changed. I have sold a few more options. This is probably the most active and the most fun thing to watch on this spreadsheet if you guys are at all curious. So you can see since the beginning of June, I've collected almost $300 in option sales, and that is using maybe $4,000 worth of collateral at a time. So I've made $300 in about 3 weeks using $4,000 of collateral. Okay, if you guys still would rather dividend invest than sell options, I don't know what to tell you because the returns are far better. I have about $25,000 in my Roth IRA account, and I collected like $40 in dividends in the first quarter of this year, okay? $40 off almost $25,000. whereas I've made $300 in 3 weeks off $4,000. Okay? I cannot encourage you guys enough to learn how to sell options. Look at these. These are almost all cash secured puts. I got a couple covered calls in there that are way out of the money. One of those is that 3D Systems one. Thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you're new and want to see more like it. New video every week on Saturday mornings. Hit the like button if you appreciate the content. It really helps out the channel a lot. And I really appreciate all the support that we've seen. 604 subs, that is pretty crazy. So I really appreciate all the support, and I'll see you guys in the next video.